Welcome to the White Glove demo for Urbania, the Mayfair game of urban renewal. In Urbania, you play a lauded urban planner in a horribly run-down city desperate for redevelopment. Now, Glover, I know you're very excited to show off your construction skills, but let's see how you do with the game first. To set up the game, shuffle all 49 building tiles, then place 5 random building tiles in the city's center district, the ones surrounded by the monorail. Place these 5 tiles renewed side up, the side with no numbers on it. Then, randomly place the remaining building tiles in the other spaces as undeveloped buildings, with their numbers and symbols face up. Next, place each building's marker on the value track in the lower floor section of the zero space. Then, move any of the markers that match the face-up buildings placed in the city center one space for each building of that color to show how many of each type of building has been renovated. Shuffle the resource cards and deal 5 to each player. Place the remaining resource cards face down beside the game board to form the resource pile. Then, flip 5 resource cards face up in a row next to the resource pile to form the resource pool. The resource cards are colored to match the buildings and have the corresponding building shape on them, as well as a corresponding symbol type. In addition, the cards have some other primary symbols, a combination of 2 or 3 hard hats and coins. These will either match the color of the card, or they will be a rainbow color, which indicates they are wild and can count as any color. Hard hats are used for renovating buildings, and coins are used for hiring specialists. Shuffle the project cards and place them beside the game board, face down, to form the project pile. Project cards give you extra points at the end of the game. We'll cover them in more detail at final scoring, but there are 4 basic types of project cards. Neighborhood projects give you points for developed buildings in specific parts of the board. Building projects give you points for specific buildings being developed. In addition, there are 2 types of specialist projects, single and double. Each type gives you points based on the final point values of 1 or 2 of the specialists, whether you own them or not. Speaking of specialists, we next place the specialist cards beside the board and place the specialist markers in the top floor section of the 1 building on the value track. Finally, take a player marker and the matching player aid card in your choice of color. There's no red in the game, Glover, so you're going to have to play purple for this one. Place your marker on the zero space of the scoring track and place your player aid card in front of you. At the end of the game, the player with the most points from renewed buildings, specialists, and projects will be the winner. But for now, Glover, we are ready to begin playing the game. So using only 2 actions per turn, you can choose to draw cards, renew buildings, hire specialists, or submit projects. You can do these actions in any order, and you can do the same action twice or 2 different actions. The first type of action is to draw 2 cards. When drawing those cards, you may choose any combination of face-up or face-down resource cards, or a project card. If you take a card from the resource pool, immediately replace the pool with the top card from the resource pile. You may draw these cards in any order, and you may draw from the same source twice if you wish. There's also no limit on the number of project or resource cards you may hold in your hand. At any time during your turn, if the 5-card resource pool has a total of 3 or fewer worker icons, the hard hats showing, you may choose to discard all 5 cards in the pool and replace them with 5 new resource cards from the resource pile. The next action is renew. Glover, we just got this game! Stop hammering on the pieces! You're going to use cards, not hammers, to renew buildings in this game. A building tile shows how many and what color worker icons must be spent to renew it, the number of points you score for renewing it, and whether you get to draw a card when you renew the building. Choose one undeveloped building that you want to renew. It must be orthogonally, not diagonally, adjacent to any renewed building. Now, play 1 or more resource cards from your hand. These cards must have a number of worker icons in the color of the building being renewed equal to or greater than the number of workers required on the building you are renewing. Sorry, Glover, if you overpay, no change is given. And remember, rainbow-colored workers are wild cards and as such can be substituted for workers of any color. When you renew a residential unit, you may play any color workers you wish as long as they are all the same color. Once you have placed the appropriate worker cards, score your points and move the corresponding colored building marker up one space on the value track. When you renew a factory, move the brown building marker. When you renew a hospital, move the red marker, and so on. Then, flip the building over to show its renewed unnumbered side. Remember, there is no building marker for the blue residential units. In addition, if the tile has a card icon in the lower left corner of the tile, you may immediately draw one card. After completing the renewal, take a look at the resource cards you have just played. If any of these cards have coin icons on them, you do not discard them. You'll be using those to hire specialists, which is your next choice for an action. Specialists will score you points every turn that you can keep them. When you use an action to hire a specialist, you may either hire one from beside the board, or you can hire one away from an opponent. The specialist's value is indicated by its marker on the value track. When you hire a specialist, play one or more resource cards with a sum total of coin icons equal to or greater than the current value of that specialist. You must use coins of the same color as the specialist you want to hire. Rainbow-colored coins are wild coins that can be substituted for coins of any color. You may pay using either the resource cards in your hand or the ones that are face-up in front of yourself. Once you pay for the specialist, take the card and then move the corresponding specialist marker up one space on the building track. If the marker is moved onto a space with a card icon, you may immediately draw one card of your choice. Finally, you can use an action to submit a project. Choose a project card from your hand and place it face down in front of yourself. When you submit a project, you must immediately pay 1 victory point for every 10 victory points you currently have, rounded down. You may only submit a total of 3 projects during the course of the entire game. You can have as many as you like in your hand, but you can only submit 3. Keep in mind that project cards you submit cannot be changed or discarded, so playing projects earlier is cheaper but riskier. After you take your 2 actions, you then score points for any specialists you currently control. Each specialist you control gives you victory points equal to the current value of the building marker of the same color. The specialist marker is used when you buy specialists, not when you score them. Now, if your player marker goes beyond 50 points on the scoring track, take one of the victory point cards and place it 50 point side up in front of yourself. If you go beyond 50 again, flip it so that the 100 side is facing up. Repeat this process each time you pass the 50 victory point space. And no, Glover, you do not get to start the game with 3 of them. The game enters the end phase in one of 2 ways. If any one quadrant has 2 or fewer undeveloped buildings, or if 3 or more specialists have a value of 5 or greater on the value track, we are nearing the end. The game ends after everyone has taken an equal number of turns and one more full round after the game end is triggered. At that point, the game ends and you score final victory points for your submitted projects and only submitted projects. Project cards in your hand score nothing. Each project card scores the number of points shown at the bottom of the card multiplied by the number or sum of the items listed. For example, this factory project card scores 6 points for each developed factory at the end of the game. We developed 4 of those, so this card scores you 24 points. Good job, Glover! There are also project cards for every building in a specific neighborhood. This one says I score 12 points for every developed building at the corners of the board. There are 2 of these, so I get 24 points as well. Good job, me! The other 2 types of project cards relate to the specialists. This project card shows 2 specialists, so you receive 3 points times the sum of the 2 specialists' value at the end of the game, whether you currently have hired them or not. This card would score 3 plus 4 times 3 for 21 points. Other project cards only show one specialist but have a higher multiplier. After project scoring, the player with the most points wins and is the best city planner in the game. And that is Urbania, the game of urban renewal. Okay, Glover, time to finish up. Though if you're determined to use that hammer, I've got some work I need done in my bathroom. What do you think?